Whoa! What's up, diggity dogs? I just made a mess in the other room. High five!
You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another episode of Random Thoughts. In today's episode, I thought I'd talk a little bit about mean-spirited humor in cartoons in particular, but just also kind of in general, because this is kind of a thing I've been thinking about for a while. But really, I've been thinking about it the last couple of days for kind of specific reasons. One of the things that I've noticed, for instance, when it comes to SpongeBob, a lot of people don't like, Squidward torture episodes, as they tend to be dubbed. They're like, oh, well, Squidward did nothing wrong, nothing to deserve this, and it's like, well, that's true, but the humor can still be there. Like, the humor's still there when it's like, for instance, in South Park, when all sorts of horrible shit happens to Butters, that's fucking hilarious, and people have less of a problem with it there. Granted, South Park is a show for adults, SpongeBob is a show for children, so there's obviously a difference there when it comes to the demographic. But obviously there are still people who have problems with that kind of thing, even in adult shows. For instance, Phantom Strider really doesn't like episodes like Scott Tenorman Must Die because it's too mean-spirited and stuff like that. And granted, I've already done a bunch of responses to Phantom Strider. This isn't going to devolve into a Phantom Strider-related rant. But I still think mean-spirited humor can be really fucking funny. Like, for instance, One Course Meal is widely considered to be one of the worst episodes of SpongeBob, but I fucking love it. Like, it's fucking mean as hell because Plankton is psychologically tortured the entire episode by Mr. Krabs, but that's what I like about it. It's so over-the-top and extreme, and I know Plankton literally lays down in the road to try and kill himself at the end of the episode, which is really fucking dark for a kid's show, I'll grant that. But I still really enjoy the episode because of just how far it's willing to push it. It's crazy to me. Like, I don't know, I like the darker episodes. I think mean humor can be just as effective and just as good as, less mean humor. Like I said, Butters is one of my favorite South Park characters, and part of that is because just all the horrible shit that happens to him. And Squidward is obviously, one of the most relatable characters in, all of fiction. And obviously, he doesn't really do anything that justifies bad things happening to him a lot in modern SpongeBob. And I would understand the argument if people said, Squidward torture episodes were getting tired out, they're overplayed. But a lot of the time, it's really people just have an issue with it in concept, when it's they've been doing shit like this since the beginning. Remember jellyfishing? That episode was a Squidward torture episode, and that was, pre-movie. Which, obviously is the SpongeBob Golden Age, according to pretty much everybody. I think that's an issue people have with, Ren Seeks Help as well, which, as I've said before, is my personal favorite Ren and Stimpy episode, which, it's crazy to me that people think that's the worst episode of Adult Party Cartoon when there's easily worse episodes of Adult Party Cartoon, Onward and Upward is actually really bad. Stimpy's Pregnant is just gross out for the sake of gross out. And Altruists, although I like, is really, really fucking long. But, Family Guy has a ton of mean-spirited humor, too, which I actually quite enjoy. I love just how ridiculous and over-the-top Family Guy is willing to get with it. It's the one thing I give modern Family Guy over, say, modern Simpsons or modern South Park, is Family Guy is still willing to be really fucking over-the-top with how edgy and mean it can be. It can be really fucking distasteful to a shocking degree, and I have a kind of respect for that it still does shit like that. Obviously, if you're rooting for a character and an entire piece of fiction can be, torturing them, I can understand people having an aversion to it on some degree. But, again, Squidward is one of my favorite characters in SpongeBob. It's, kind of a toss-up between him and Mr. Krabs for me. But I still actually quite like Squidward torture episodes. There are obviously some that are obviously better than others. Jellyfishing is one of the better ones. Dying for Pie. And, people could argue that in those there's more justification, because, Squidward kind of acts like an ass. Especially in Dying for Pie, when he, he didn't actually intentionally try to kill SpongeBob, but he thought he did. And so, he was getting what was perceived as karmic retribution, even though obviously that wasn't the case. So even then, I would argue, because I've been watching some videos today where this guy was trying to say stuff like that about Squidward torture episodes, about how they used to justify them. He used Dying for Pie as an example, and there's the example I laid out, right? But Squidward didn't intentionally do anything bad to him. He didn't actually do anything bad to him. So it is just a Squidward torture episode with perceived justification in the audience's eyes, I suppose. But even then, it's at best accidental, and granted, it would be bad because SpongeBob would die. That's a pretty serious fucking deal, obviously. But it didn't happen. So is it really justified when he was actually just buying him a pie, not knowing that it was a bomb, and then ultimately SpongeBob didn't even fucking eat it? A lot of SpongeBob talk with this, because that's kind of what made me decide to make this today, is looking into SpongeBob videos I've been watching, because I've been watching these guys break down SpongeBob episodes of modern SpongeBob, which granted, I don't really watch modern episodes. The last time I watched the show, I think, was in, like, season 10, and even then it was only a couple of episodes I saw, and that was, like, you know, the first time I'd watched new stuff from it in years. Because obviously I pretty much own all the SpongeBob I care to own. I think I have, like, the first 6 seasons. But it's funny, like I said, people act like, you know, things like One Course Meal and, you know, all the Squidward torture episodes are bad, but I think they're quite enjoyable. It's sadistic, obviously. It's a sadistic enjoyment, but, you know, I'm obviously rooting for Squidward. Squidward's a fucking relatable character. So that's really all I have to say, just kind of rambling here a bit. A lot about SpongeBob, a little bit about South Park, some Family Guy, some Ren and Stimpy here. Hopefully this video wasn't a waste of time, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Toodles.
You take forever to say nothing.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.